When you think about the future of electric cars, there's usually one specific brand and one single CEO that immediately comes to mind. For years, the industry has built an image entirely around luxury and high-tech minimalism. You picture sleek designs, large touchscreens, and software that promises a sci-fi future. But right now, there is another automaker selling more cars, growing much faster, and quietly setting up physical infrastructure all over the globe. And chances are you have barely heard of them. That company is BYD. In a very short window of time, they have moved from relative obscurity to becoming the largest systemic risk to the established automakers. While the legacy brands fought for dominance in Silicon Valley, BYD focused on a totally different strategy, growing massive while the rest of the world looked the other way. To understand how they did it, we have to look back to the 1990s. BYD did not start out designing cars. They started by manufacturing rechargeable batteries for consumer electronics, supplying power for early mobile phones and laptops. In an electric vehicle, the battery dictates almost everything. It is the heaviest component, the limiting factor for how far you can drive, and the single largest cost in production. Most legacy automakers have to navigate a complex web of third-party suppliers to source these battery cells. That reliance creates a massive logistical bottleneck, making it harder to control both timelines and costs. BYD bypasses that problem entirely. They don't buy their batteries from a supplier network. They manufacture their own cells from the ground up. By spending decades perfecting the hardest and most expensive part of electric vehicle engineering, long before they ever built a car, they secured a massive structural advantage over the rest of the industry. This approach is vertical integration. Instead of paying markups to outside suppliers, one manufacturer controls the production chain. BYD takes this to the extreme. They process raw materials, fabricate semiconductors, and build chassis, all within their own ecosystem. Maintaining that level of self-reliance requires a staggering amount of human labor. Massive factory floors are packed with thousands of workers assembling components that other brands would immediately outsource. And when you eliminate external shipping delays and supplier shortages, that strict control translates directly into relentless production speed. Keeping every step of the process under one roof allows BYD to ruthlessly cut middleman costs. That gives them total authority over the final sticker price of their vehicles. For years, the traditional electric vehicle market targeted a very specific demographic. Companies sold EVs as a high-status experience, carrying a luxury price tag to match. BYD ignored the luxury tier completely. They designed their cars for the everyday driver, focusing entirely on accessibility and mass market volume. Slashing the price tag on an electric car without bankrupting the company requires intense engineering efficiency. Most legacy automakers simply cannot afford to produce an EV at this price point. Offering a genuinely affordable option, BYD quickly captured the Chinese consumer base. Their vehicles filled the roads, widely adopted by everyday drivers and taxi fleets. This approach shifted the basic rules of the auto industry. The pressure is no longer on who can build the fastest or flashiest car, but who can actually make an electric vehicle that regular people can afford. Winning the largest automotive market in the world gave BYD an enormous surplus of real-world driving data and unmatched manufacturing scale. With their home base secured, they began aggressively exporting vehicles, setting up operations across Europe, Southeast Asia, and deeply into Brazil. Pushing into international territories requires severe logistical power, actively filling massive cargo ships and transporting thousands of finished units across the ocean. Wherever BYD lands, they introduce their aggressive pricing models. This undercuts the local legacy automakers, immediately forcing them into a defensive scramble. Competitors are now staring at a brutal reality. They have to figure out how to completely overhaul their supply chains to match these low prices or watch their market share evaporate. BYD does face resistance. Critics point out that the company relies heavily on Chinese government subsidies to keep its prices artificially low, and international buyers still have questions about long-term vehicle reliability. There is also a significant psychological barrier to clear. Global consumers generally view established legacy brands and American tech companies as a safer, more prestigious investment. But brand loyalty can only shield the established players for so long. Even with those perception hurdles in place, the sheer volume of sales proves the statistical gap is rapidly shrinking. The question is no longer if this disruption is happening. The question is how far their momentum can carry them before the old Bard figures out how to mount a defense. While everyone was watching the traditional innovators, an entirely different type of company built the infrastructure to scale. And by the time the rest of the world fully registers what happened, the industry will already be operating on a completely different set of rules.